let's get into what the Celtics did do and take a look at bringing the heat. Brought to you by Eastern Propane and Oil. They are in your neighborhood. And we already knew about Xavier Tillman because the Celtics and Brad Stevens trading for him yesterday, the 25-year-old who, front court players got some defensive versatility. Today they went out and they got Jaden Springer, who was acquired from the 76ers. He was taken late in the first round a couple of years ago. Celtics also giving up Delano Banton to Portland, so still you got a roster spot available. We'll talk more about that roster spot in just a bit. But let's dive into it now with Chris Forsberg and Scal. Scal, I'll start with you. Overall, your thoughts on what the Celtics did at the trade deadline, including yesterday?
So starting with Tillman, I think if you look at our team and you say, whether it's the second half of the year, and I think, Chris, you did a great job of explaining this the other day. Second half of the year, if Al Horford wants to miss a game, if Porzingis misses a game, if both those guys happen to be out, I think Tillman provides that. Also, if you look last year, Tillman had a decent playoff against the Lakers. Like, he was not scared of Anthony Davis. I thought he played big. I think he played with energy, his great size. So I'm good with the Tillman thing if you're looking at a small sample size in the regular season, and I can count on him in the playoff if a guy was to get hurt. I do believe there's still a weakness of ours with that. I still think I would like to have another guy, another big we can handle that position, but that could be talked about in the buyout, and we'll get into that. Jaden Springer, freak of nature. I'm not sure if he's ready now. Sometimes when guys come to Boston, all of a sudden, like, their shot gets better and their game gets better, the spacing is better. Maybe Springer will be a guy that, we know that he's really good. He had a really good preseason. He could jump out the gym, head way above the rim. Like, he definitely was deserving of being a first-round draft pick. So are they going to figure that out? Are the Celtics can make him into a player that can help out right now? I know he can guard. I know he can move. I know he can fly around. But can he fit into the team? Those are things that we'll figure out as the season kind of progresses.
The way I look at this, Giles, is that over the course of 3 moves, they swapped out 2 players, right? Like, Lamar Stevens and Delano Banton were not playing big roles for this team. I don't know if Xavier Tillman and Jaden Springer will play big roles moving forward. I do think Tillman especially will have an opportunity over the course, 5 back-to-backs remaining, 27 games in 52 days to the finish line. You're going to need someone to help pace your big men to the finish line. They are both offensively limited, but I think they can help defensively, and they're going to win the trust of Joe Mazzulla that way. So we'll see. I think part of this is for this year and some depth that you can lean on more than you thought with Banton and Stevens, and then you kind of roll it into the future where they're going to have the opportunity to potentially look at these guys for deeper into the future. And I do think it's just adding a little bit more depth. But as Scal said, we'll get into this later. I don't know if there's an obvious path to another big man or whatever with the buyout market, but still some steps to take here if the Celtics want to fill that last roster spot.
So as far as Xavier Tillman and Jaden Springer go, what do they kind of offer as far as roster flexibility kind of moving forward? Because the other thing to this as well is that they did give up players on their way out, and they have that one spot open. But, everyone kind of brings up bird rights. And it's sometimes kind of you're getting in the weeds a little bit. But what do these 2 players in particular, with their contracts set up the way they are, what does that mean for the Celtics? And could this be more of a move that Brad Stevens is looking at as, for the future and not just for the stretch run here?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? You're hopeful that they come in and they acclimate quickly and you can lean on them over the course of the last 31 games here. But if it's for the longer future, the Celtics don't have a lot of avenues to add talent. They are a second apron team. They're spending big money. Jaylen Brown's contract kicks in next season. They're going to be committed. You need lower cost players that you hope emerge as rotation players. The way I explain this is, in a vacuum, Celtics can't go out and add anybody beyond a minimum contract this offseason. What you can do now is, with these guys in-house, you have bird rights for someone like Tillman. You could sign him to a fair number. You can examine Springer and see how long maybe you'd like to keep him around. And so there are avenues for this to stretch longer into the future. You've just added some flexibility, whereas I don't think Lamar Stevens and Delano Banton would have been back next year.
I think Springer is what you called, I don't want to call cheap. I don't like the word cheap. Inexpensive laborer, right? I think that those guys, Springer in general, he's a first-round draft pick, so his salary does go up. But I think they believe in him. I don't think they're making a move for a 21-year-old if they're just making the choice for a run for the NBA Finals. So I think that's a short-term, long-term. And I know you mentioned, could they end up trading him in the future? Yeah, probably. You always want good players. So right now, he had a great preseason. He improved a ton since that first year when he was playing in the G League. If the Celtics feel like there's like a lost talent there, well, if they make him a better player, then he becomes more valuable to other teams, a guy you can throw in a trade. But he also is a guy If you feel like you can get him moving forward, maybe you can develop him a little bit, and maybe you believe in the guy. So we'll see all that when the games start to happen. We'll see how Joe Mazzulla uses him. I'll have an answer, not from the front office, but I'll be able to see what the front office is thinking by watching him play with this group.
And just, I think it's $4 million next year. It's a number that helps in a lot of regards, like whether it's just low cost or whether it's potential trades. But I do think they like it. Former first round pick. We've heard Brad talk a lot about you need guys. Like look at the way Miami Heat continuously develop guys. So this is a way to get them when you don't necessarily have the picks to go get them.
And I think I saw somewhere too. With Philadelphia, Sam Cassell obviously being from there, it spoke highly of Jaden Springer. So there's a connection there. You can understand why.
He did.
I saw that tweeted out. I think it was by a Philadelphia person.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
From last year, and say this kid is legit.
Yeah.
Because he also said Tyrese Maxey's legit before anybody else said that he's legit. So, I mean, I know Springer's a freak. Like he's a freak of nature.
Flies around.
If you have a live body, he's got good length, and he likes to defend. He's not one of these guys it's a great athlete and just wants to dunk. Like he gets after it defensively. Guards the best player when he gets on the floor. So. I think there's a lot to like there, but you don't know until you see it out there. You can see how he fits in with the way that we run offense.
Recent games, guarding Steph Curry, guarding Luka, like he's not afraid of a challenge.
Okay, the other question here is too, because I know that you guys have both mentioned Alex Caruso as a name that you've thrown out there for this trade deadline. Do you look at it and I know that you had hopes that maybe they would go out there and add some serious firepower to this roster that they have right now. Do you feel like they did enough? Because the other thing, too, is that it's not like other teams went out there and made any major moves.
I mean, I heard, this is the thing about the NBA that I didn't like, and I don't like. And this year's trade deadline wasn't as bad. It's like all these teams, like the good teams, are all like, we got to do more to get better. We got to do this. We got to do that. And all the teams that are an absolute train wreck / dumpster fire are all like, well, I like what we got. I'm cool right now. Steve Kerr just called his team. This is a special group right here. Special group? Special group? You had KD, Steph, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. You won 73 games, and this team's a special group? I'm done with the low-level teams saying, I'm cool. I like where we're at. I like where we're at now, below 500, than we were at the beginning of the season. 0-0. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
What is the Bulls' plan?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of people, and no disrespect, I probably would do the same thing when I'm getting $6 million to guess wrong all the time, right? I really think that they're like, if I don't make a move, like let's just say, trade Alex Caruso to the Boston Celtics, and the ownership is just chilling around like, all right, we got to get rid of Caruso, right? Like, oh, we got a first-round draft pick. And Caruso's holding the championship trophy. Yeah. I think the ownership is going to be like, you know what? Fire him. I don't want to see the player that I signed that you couldn't make work in Boston winning a championship.
So, obviously you're making the point here. It takes two to tango. Here, it takes two to make the trade.
Yeah, I think it's them. I think it's all the dumpster fires. They like the dumpster fires. Like, it keeps them warm at night. I don't know.
I think you brought it up the best way to phrase it. No one else in the league made a move that I sat there and said, man, I wish the Celtics had gotten involved in that. So that tempers the idea that they should have done something bolder. There's no move out there that I was like, oh, man, I really wish they had kind of explored that further. No one was moving quality players, and so you did the best you could on the fringes.
How did the Warriors not trade a guy? A $400 million payroll. $400 million.
They're going to find it,
they're out of the play-in right now, and they got a special group. $400 million?
Let them get one.
What are we doing? What are we doing? And then we should the Celtics do more? No disrespect to your question. That's a good question. But should we have done more? No, how about those dumpster fire teams should have done more? They should have done more. And then somehow they put it on us like, ooh, you really need our guy. No, you need to get rid of your guys. Like, you guys have problems. No, we got a special group. And no disrespect to any of those guys. I'm not trying to be mean to those guys, but I don't know when this shift happens. Like, when did it happen? Like, the bad teams used to say, why don't we just play young guys and get some picks? And now these bad teams are like, ooh, I like where we're at. I think we got a really good group.
Does it have something to do with the play-in tournament?
Yeah.
Right? Because you have more teams that are eligible for the playoffs now, so you have less teams that are, set on being sellers.
I don't know. Maybe that's the reason why. And there's real truth to that, right? Like, you can claim we're still in it. Okay.
I mean,
you're really in it. And then you're going to play us and get smacked. And you're going to be like, dang it, we should have traded our guys.
Meanwhile, there were some moves made in the Eastern Conference. You saw the Bucks. They acquired Patrick Beverley from Philadelphia. The Knicks got Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Pistons.
They're the winners over here.
They are. The Sixers, meanwhile.
They didn't even give up any picks. We're going to get into that later or right now?
We're doing it right now. You want to talk about the Knicks? Go for it, man, because they're the biggest risers as well as far as the Eastern Conference odds go. So what do you like about what the Knicks did, and how for real are they? Real
deal, because here's the reality, right? They got what you call like a lot of different guys that can have a night. Now, it is up to Tibbs to figure out what guy I'm going to use, right? But you got to ride the hot hand. We know Jalen Brunson's a guy who's delivered in the playoffs, on the contrary to what all the WNBA players think. This is the guy who's delivered in the playoffs, right? But Julius Randle up and down. Some of the other guys, like Josh Hart, up and down. Like the reason why they got rid of Quentin Grimes, up and down. So they're looking for more consistency. They don't know if OG Anunoby's going to deliver. They don't know if he's going to be a guy that makes that next step. So if you get 5 guys that can score 20 on any given night and you push the right buttons, you could score enough. Tibbs believes in his defense, and I do too. Now that they made the trade for OG Anunoby, their defense has been the number 1 defense in the NBA. So they're just looking for more scoring outside of Jalen Brunson. And this could be the year that Julius Randle kind of breaks out of his playoff slump. This could be the year that other guys have stepped up, like OG Anunoby shoots over 45% from 3. We don't know, but I know they have a lot of options. And for the Knicks, they didn't get rid of the opportunity.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
To trade for a superstar. They probably improved their opportunity to trade for a superstar in the offseason. Good job by them. And I've been killing their front office, not the last 2 years, but before that. They got the coach, they got the right guy in place. They did a good job this trade deadline.
Are they the scariest in the East, next behind Boston?
Well, I'm not scared of Boston. We're Boston. What do you mean?
I'm saying
he's saying that
who's the scariest rival for Boston?
Miami didn't do anything, so I would say, Knicks are good, Cleveland's good, Indiana's good.
Wow, no Bucks?
I can't co-sign Milwaukee. I know they got the stars, but they don't guard.
Wow.
So I don't know. All those teams are.
I don't think Pat Beverly moves the needle all that much, but look, beggars can't be choosers, so I do think it's at least somebody that wants to play defense, and I don't know if that's not going to fix them, but it's at least somebody that's going to try. I still can't get past, Giannis and Lillard, you can't write them off, but I'm with you. You watch it and you're thinking, man, defensively, they're just not going to hold up in the playoffs, and so I'm with you. I wonder if the Knicks are just crawling a little bit closer. I'm not ready to put them.
So who do you have right now, Bucks?
I'll go Bucks and then Knicks.
This is interesting because even a month ago, you would have said Milwaukee and Philadelphia are in the top 3. And now you might be saying that it's the Knicks and Cleveland. And Cleveland didn't do much today.
It's February. We got March and then April will roll around and, Joel Embiid will get healthy. And if he knocked out, 6 games in a row of 30 points, we say that guy, right? So the Eastern Conference is tough. By the way, no one ever talks about – 2 teams that no one talks about. It's amazing. I do the national show. It's Cleveland and the Clippers. Like the Clippers are sneaky the best team in the NBA right now over the last 6 weeks, but no one talks about them. And Kawhi Leonard should be an MVP, but somehow on these the odds, he's plus 10,000. But there's a good chance he wins the MVP this year. So there's just a lot of good teams that people don't talk about. Cleveland's another one. The addition of Georges Niang and Max Strus, what I told you guys they were going to be good, then I admitted I was wrong because they weren't good. They actually became really good right now. They're I think 9-1 over their last, or they've won.
They haven't been healthy
14 of 15, and they're getting guys back. So they're a really good team. So. But when we get closer to it and all the buyout stuff settles, we'll figure out an answer.
That's what I need another month. I need to see where does Milwaukee settle in with Doc? Where does New York wash out here and they'll lose OG for a couple weeks here because of the cleanup he's having, and then we'll see. Well, then buyout market, we'll know better. Let's have this conversation in end of March about who's the real rival and who's to worry about.
By the way, the Pacers made about 15 moves today, too. We didn't have time to get to all of them.
Pacers did well.
They did.
They did a really good job of upgrading their team.
All right. What do we got? Tomorrow night, Celtics back in action, taking on the Wizards. A Friday night game at the Garden. Our coverage starts at 6:30 p.m. with Celtics pregame live. It is presented by TD Bank. Remember, you can also stream the game on the NBC Sports app and NBCSportsBoston.com.